Hello, this is Mr. Wynn, and this video is about solving polynomial equations using depression. So to solve any polynomial equation with degree 3 or higher, we use the idea that if you can factor, you should, because that'll make the problem easier. When we take out that linear factor, the problem's original degree will be 1 lower. This process is known as depressing a polynomial. So for example, if you start with a cubic polynomial of degree 3 and depress it 1 time, the new problem will be a quadratic polynomial of degree 2. If it's quadratic, you can solve using factoring or quad formula. Another example is if you start with a quartic polynomial, degree 4, and you depress it once, then it becomes a cubic, degree 3. Then you depress that one again once to make it a quadratic, degree 2, which then you solve like normal. So if we start with the polynomial degree 7, how many times will we have to depress it until it becomes a quadratic? So you just do the degree 7 minus 2, you get 5. We have to bring down its power 5 times until it's quadratic. Before we do the problem, we need to remember how to do synthetic division, because that's very, very important in depressing polynomials. So remember, synthetic division is a simple chart where you add down, multiply across as a shortcut to divide instead of doing long division. The root or solution goes in the top left box, while the coefficients of the problem are placed beside the box, and make sure you check for any missing zeros as placeholders. And I'll demonstrate that synthetic division process while showing you a neat trick or application of it. So for this problem, find f of 4 if fx equals 2x cubed minus 4x squared minus 15x plus 10. So the normal way we learned before is, it says if you want f of 4, you go to equation f and plug in 4 for every x. So this would be 2 times 4 cubed minus 4 times 4 squared minus 15 times 4 plus 10. You could figure out that by hand, but I'll just use a calculator here to make it much faster. So I'm going to type 2 parentheses 4 to the third power minus 4 parentheses 4 squared minus 15 parentheses 4 plus 10. Final answer is 14. So we know f of 4 is 14. So when x is 4, y is 14. That's the point on that graph. So here's a newer and cooler way, and that is to do synthetic division with 4 in the box. The remainder will be the value, and this actually is called synthetic substitution. So remember, in the box on the left corner, you put the root, or in this case, you put 4. You write the coefficients of the problem. Because it's degree 3, you add on to that, it's 4. There should be 4 numbers. There's nothing missing. So it goes 2, negative 4, negative 15, positive 10. We draw the line. Remember, you drop the first number, 2. Whatever's below the line multiplies over in the box. 2 times 4 is 8. That goes diagonally across. You add down, negative 4 plus 8 is positive 4. You multiply across, it's 16. Add down, it's 1. Multiply across, it's 4. Add down, it's 14. That 14 is our remainder, but that's also what we got when we plugged in 4 for the equation. So now that you know you can plug in the value you want in the box for synthetic division to see what the remainder is, we can use that idea. So using that fact that the remainder is the value, we can use synthetic division to see if that x is a root or solution or 0, or x-intercept. So again, the remainder, aka the y value, must be 0 for the x to be an x-intercept. Also make sure you remember the difference between factors and roots. Remember, we use roots inside the box during synthetic division. The factor we're going to solve, because that's the problem. So here it says determine if x minus 2 is a factor of that problem. So if x minus 2 is the factor, I'll plug in 2 as the root, as the answer. Because remember, I just said this equals 0. That's where I got that. You have to add 2 both sides. So x equals positive 2. Alright, anyways, I will now write the chart. Degree is 3, add 1 is 4. There are 4 numbers. Good. So it's positive 1, negative 7, positive 4, positive 12. Remember, you drop the first one down, multiply across, add down, multiply across, add down, multiply across, add down, 0. If the remainder is 0, then yes, it is a root. It is a factor because 2 is root, or x-intercept. It's a solution. Alright, so now going back to the depression process. If we can find a factor, we should take it out, meaning divide it out to get a new, easier problem. So from that last slide we just did, we found that 2 is a solution. But there are 2 more solutions since the degree is 3. Remember, the exponent tells you how many answers there are. So the problem was determine if x minus 2 is a factor of that, which we decide yes it is. And we got a new equation. Remember, your answer after doing synthetic division, you have to put the letters next to the x's. So that 1 goes to x squared, that -5 goes to x, that -6 is just the constant, and there's no remainder. Anyways, that new equation, notice the degree went down from 3 to 2. It got depressed. That's a quadratic now. If it's quadratic, you can solve using quadratic formula or factoring. I'm going to factor this. So I'm going to try guess and check. There's only x and x. If I try 3, 2, can 2 and 3 make 5? Yes. -3 minus 2 is -5. Is a negative times a negative? Nope. So that's wrong. I'm going to guess 6 and 1. Can 1 and 6 make 5? Yes. 6 minus 1 is 5. I need a -5, so the 6 is negative, the 1 is positive, negative times positive is negative. We're good. Alright, so I guess and check correctly. I'm going to solve this. If I say x minus 6 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0, I can find the remaining two roots. If you add 6 here, x equals positive 6. If you subtract 1 here, x equals -1. So the three answers to the original problem are x equals 2, 6, and -1. So I just solved that original cubic equation. And I do have the graph of this to show. Alright, so there's the equation. It's this cubic. It's this sideways s. There's 3 action steps: -1, +2, and +6. So we are good. Also, if they ask you to factor this, change those roots back into factors. This is the problem: x minus 2, x minus 6, x plus 1. Alright, that's factored form. And if you go into solving, you just factor equals 0, which is kind of what we did already. So make sure you answer the question. But if you multiply all three of those out by foiling, combining terms, and FOIL again, you'll get the original problem. Alright, so let's try one more. So solve this. Now, it's not so obvious to factor, but let's see, it is degree 4. I got to do depression twice to make it quadratic. So we got to do depression 2 times. Nice thing right here is they give some hints. It says -1 is one of the solutions, the factors. So we know one of the answers. So we know one of the x intercepts is -1. I'll say we have -1 is one of the answers. And if x minus 2 is a factor, we know +2 is a root. We know 2 of the 4 answers. We have to find the other 2. So we're going to do synthetic division. If the answer is -1, that's the root. I put in the box. Degree 4, there should be 5 things. Good. 2, 1, -16, 3, 18. Draw the line. Drop, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. That's good. It should end with 0. If it ends with 0, that means it was really a root. Alright, this new equation will be 2x to the 3rd power minus 1x squared minus 15x plus 18 with no remainder. Well, that's cubic. We got a new equation. We got to do synthetic division one more time. So now we already did the -1. We'll try the next one. We do +2. And the order doesn't matter. You could have done 2 first, -1 second. Our new equation, it goes 2, -1, -15, 18. There's 4 terms because of degree 3. I do synthetic division again. Drop this, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add 0. Good. This new equation is 2 goes with x squared now. This +3 goes with x, and that -9 is the constant. So that's our quadratic. We can solve that using our factoring or quadratic formula. Remember, quadratic formula is slower, so I'm going to factor. I'm going to do guess and check because there's no GCF. So let's guess. There's only 2x and x. Let's guess 3 and 3. Can 6 and 3 make 3? Yes. +6, -3. And then negative times positive is negative. We're good. So I fully factored. I'm going to set each equal to 0. So x minus 3 equals 0. X plus 3 equals 0. To solve this, I add 3, both sides. So 2x equals +3. And then I divide by 2. X equals 3 over 2. Over here, I subtract 3. X equals -3. Alright, so we found our last two answers, 3 over 2 and negative 3. If I graph this, we'd find all four of those solutions. All four of those are x-intercepts. They wanted the four factors, which they might in a different problem. We know the four factors are x plus 1, x minus 2, and then the thing we factored before, 2x minus 3, and x plus 3. So sometimes they want the answers, sometimes they want the factors. Make sure you know the difference. So I'll write factors. Alright, so now you should be asking a very, very important question. For that last problem, we knew how to do depression twice, and we were lucky we knew what to use because of the two hints. But how do we know what to use if we don't have hints? So the official answer to that is use the guess and check using the rational root theorem, which is for pre-AP GT only, which is on a different video. Or 2 is use a calculator and find the obvious roots or solutions. This is a little cheating, but it's a lot faster and everyone can do it, regular and pre-AP. My only warning is don't overuse the calculator. Only get the number of roots or answers equal to the number of times you got to do depression. So that means if we start out with the polynomial degree 5, we should know that we need to press 3 times before getting the quadratic. So we should only get 3 obvious answers from the calculator. Most of the time, you'll not be able to get all the answers from the calculator because some of the answers are really hard to guess fractions while others are imaginary. And we will find those imaginary ones. Alright, so back to that last problem. So same problem, solve 2x to the 4th plus x cubed minus 16x squared plus 3x plus 18. But now we have no hints. So no hints means use calculator to find your own. So I'm going to my calculator. I'm going to y equals, type the problem in, 2x to the 4th power plus x to the 3rd power minus 16x squared plus 3x plus 18. If I press graph, I'll see some answers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 x-intercepts. Now, I'm not going to pick all 4 from the graph. I want to use 2 because I only need 2 for depression. So you can press trace and guess. For example, I see negative 2. I'm going to trace negative 2. I press enter. Nope, that's wrong because y is not right. Okay, how about negative 1? If I do negative 1, y is 0. That's good. So I know one root's one answer. So I know x equals negative 1. That's one thing I use for depression. I'm going to guess one more. Maybe I'll guess that far right one. So what's that? It's between 1, 2, maybe 2. If I try 2, I get 0. Good. So y, x is 2. Well, notice if I go back to my last problem, we had the answers x is negative 1, x equals positive 2. On the right side in blue, x is also negative 3. So instead of using 2, maybe I saw and liked negative 3 better. Trace negative 3, 0. So one of those two numbers, negative 1 or 2, could have been replaced with negative 3 for synthetic division to find the remaining 2. Now notice that last answer from before was a fraction, 3 over 2. So you might not see it, but this one over here, if I try trace 3 over 2, I'll get 0 because that's one of the roots. If you don't like tracing and guessing, if you don't like looking at the graph, you can press second table and try to find where y is 0. So when x is 2, y is 0. That's good. So that's one of the ones I used. Then I went to negative 1, y is 0. So that's the other one I used. So that's how you use a calculator to find the obvious answers. Again, only get the number you need for depression because you should find the last two yourself by either factoring or quadratic formula, especially if it's a fraction or imaginary. That's it for the video. Thanks for watching. See you in class. Ask any questions you see. Bye.